Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
First, a word from our sponsor. The Daily Compliance News for March 27, 2023, the most thankless job edition. And we begin with that story from the Wall Street Journal, who says, what is the most thankless job at a bank? Well, it's the chief risk officer. And it's a interesting and actually very well-written article about the role of a chief risk officer and that fact that Silicon Valley Bank didn't have one for 8 months. It is a clear lack of oversight and probably borders on negligence of the bank, if not intentional conduct, not to put someone in that place. But it's a broader discussion of why risk officers are there and their thankless role. Next up, boy, when it comes to first conflicts of interest and nepotism, First Republic Bank may take the cake, as millions were paid to the family members of the chief executive officer, James Herbert, and for consulting roles with the bank. And it's, wow, when you read the article, you just see what the nepotism he used or violated to pay family members literally millions of dollars. So, I guess conflicts of interest rules are there for a reason. Next up from the Wall Street Journal, Risk and Compliance Journal, Richard Vandeport also reporting that the U.S. imposed a new round of sanctions on Belarus, targeting the regime of the president for its continued support of the Russia's war in Ukraine and its crackdown on Belarus's pro-democracy movement. So Belarus now being put in the sanctions target, and the end of, these sanctions will no doubt start to hinder Belarus as well. And finally, from Reuters, a U.S. judge has dismissed an ex-Barclay traders whistleblowers lawsuit. A whistleblower had claimed it ignored basic risk management and violated its own policies for detecting rogue trading. The judge said the ex-trader could not sue under Sarbanes-Oxley's whistleblowing law. The judge found that Sarbanes-Oxley did not cover claims that companies violated internal policies, even if those behaviors were wrongful. That seems to me a pretty wrong-headed interpretation of how the SEC enforces compliance programs and enforcement actions under Sarbanes-Oxley, but that was the district court's ruling. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.